Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your boy, Darrell Owens. We're back for another edition of One on One, Season 7. As we continue into Season 7, had a great last week with Nate Burleson. Great to have Nate on. Thank you, Nate, for coming in and chopping it up with us to kick the season off. But today, it's not gonna sound crazy. We got a oldie but a goodie. We got an original. When we had our first season of One on One, this man did episode 2 of One on One. Now, at that time, he was the head coach of the Richmond Spiders, just getting into the role. Now he has moved on to the UVA Cavaliers. That's right, the Virginia Cavaliers' new head coach for women's basketball, Aaron Roussell, will join us today to go over some things, talk about the new experience so far. We'll get into a whole bunch of fun stuff today, but we're glad to have Coach Roussell back with us to get this season rocking and rolling. With that said, let's go ahead and get it started, ladies and gentlemen. Episode 206 of 101 starts now.
One, 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 one. Welcome to the one-on-one. When it comes to ratings, man, we number one. I get the truth, then I give them the scoop. If anybody got a question, I give them the proof. Welcome to the one-on-one. When it comes to ratings, man, we number one. I get the truth, then I give them the scoop. If anybody got a question, I give them the proof. Welcome to One-on-One, a Legacy Maker Sports Network.
Well, people, we are here, episode 206 of 101, here in season 7. I got my man with me today. We've been friends for a long time, and I'm very excited to have him here to help kick off season 7 here on 101 as Coach Aaron Roussell of the UVA Cavaliers, Virginia Cavaliers women's basketball coach Aaron Roussell. Coach Roussell, how are you doing, sir?
I am doing well. It was great to see you, my friend. Congrats to you, 7 years into this thing, and I think we've hung out for a few times on this. So kudos to you, my friend, and I do appreciate you having me on.
We have locked and loaded Coach Roussell for his 5th episode that keeps him squarely in the lead here at the moment. People we've brought on, and we've always had a great time talking to Coach Roussell. Now, Coach, if you noticed in the intro, got a little bit of an older clip. So next week intro will be just a little bit different now that we got a little bit of an update here after this episode. Coach Roussell has been he's been in the mix there. You know, he fussed at me, I think, in episode 2. He was like, "Hey man, what happened to me? I was in the intro." I said, Don't worry, it won't change after that. So now we got to update. You know, we'll update next week to have the brand new Virginia version of Coach Roussell in the intro.
Well, I appreciate that. Those were some good years and a lot of nostalgia there. So I appreciate still making the intro and even got in there ahead of your guy, Leroy Butler, man. That says something.
That does say a little bit. You know, I mean, hey, look, Leroy is a good guy. And I was like, you know, we got to get Coach in there. That's extremely, extremely important, no matter what we do there. So we just had to make sure we get you in there, Coach. Now, Coach, you know, it's been I thought somebody was trying to get me. My dog's out here acting up today. So it's been a really fun adventure before we got the show started. Now, Coach, you know, we like to start off, you know, of course, with the check-in. So we want to check in on you, your family, your friends, since you've made the move to Charlottesville. How everything's right now with Coach Roussell and the fam?
Yeah, believe it or not, still in transition. You know, I think this all happened incredibly fast. You know, when I tell people, you know, in this industry how quickly things happen, you know, I think I left for family vacation on a Wednesday. I think I bought a car that night and prepared everything for that trip for portal calls. And, you know, it was Easter. So Easter Sunday, the Monday morning after, had my first conversation with Carla here that night, had a Zoom. That next afternoon it was done. And so it happened really quickly. The transition hasn't happened quite as quickly. Obviously my kids were still in school, and then just a lot of activities that they have going on this summer. So we are in process of, we'll close on our house in Richmond at the end of the month here. We'll close on our house here in Charlottesville the day after. And then probably that last week of July, first week of August, we'll be over here permanently in Charlottesville.
That's a good deal, Coach. That's a good deal. Very, like I said, very happy for you and the family. I know how tough it had to be, obviously, to make the move, from Richmond and to now going to Charlottesville. Not too far up the road. It's not that far of a trip. It's not that
We
far of a
moved to
trip.
the suburbs, man. That's what I keep telling people. There's not a long goodbye. We just moved to the suburbs, really only about an hour away.
Right, right, right. So now, Coach, let's reflect a little bit on your time in Richmond. Obviously, a great time there. If I'm not mistaken, you leave on obviously amazing terms. Get an opportunity to make a couple of NCAA tournament appearances, the first tournament appearances for this school in their history. You finish at number 2 all time, winning as coach for this program. You came off a great program from Bucknell, and everywhere you've been, we've seen the success. But can you just kind of reflect a little bit on your time in Richmond and the great players and everybody that came through there while you were there?
Yeah, man, still trying to get me emotional here, and it's
No, I'm not
been
trying to make you
what,
cry, Coach.
3 months. I mean, I think you maybe more than anybody else knows what Richmond meant to me, meant to my family, and still does, and hope, and I hope and assume always will. It was the greatest job I ever had. It was the greatest place I ever lived. Obviously being at Bucknell, I really worked for one man, as an athletic director my entire Division I career. So that was really hard. John Hart's tremendous man, great influence in my life. I this all happened really quick, and I'll share this with you. I think the only time I really broke down during this, because it was happening so fast and emotions, that phone call to John Hart was really difficult. And, the quick exodus with leaving and with the players and everything, that was incredibly hard. That place meant the world to me. I meant this sincerely. I meant this genuinely. I really didn't think we would ever leave. We were incredibly happy. And it just kind of happened. I think it just kind of happened really quickly. The decision happened quickly. I think we're incredibly excited about what's at Virginia, to be able to have an opportunity to get a job like this at a time like this with everything going on at the NCAA. It was an incredible opportunity, and just felt like it was something Molly and I just felt like it was the right time to kind of give it a try and make that jump.
Yeah, it definitely, I know, has to be a tough move, but when you look and see what Virginia will bring to the forefront here, we're talking about playing in the ACC is, if not the top conference in women's college basketball, maybe number 2. So you're right there at 1-2 in that mix, at least in my opinion. There's some great teams there, the Notre Dames, the NC States, and so on and so on. Virginia, I mean, hey, Virginia made the Sweet 16 last year, and you get a chance and opportunity to take over there. Why Virginia? What made the deciding factor to head to Charlottesville? Maybe tough, but what made the final move for you? What pushed you over the edge?
I think when we kind of looked at things, and again, we were incredibly happy, and everything at Richmond felt like, between, the administration there had done everything that they could to make that still a great job and be competitive. I think for us to make the jump, it had to be somebody who also had that same vision, that meant women's basketball was going to be important. Resource-wise, everything is it's such a different landscape right now with the NCAA, that you needed to have somewhere where they valued women's basketball, had a vision for what this was supposed to be. And so I think that was a big part of it. I think there's a high ceiling here. I think Carla's got tremendous vision for what's going on here and what that future holds. And then a little bit, to be honest with you, through no fault of anybody, the landscape has changed a little bit. It did get incredibly difficult at the mid-major level. Not impossible. I still think everything is set there, and even they've added a few more spots to the NCAA tournament. Hopefully that helps the mid-majors. It wasn't the reason we left, but I just felt like Virginia positioned itself to really want to go for this, and that was going to be what it took. There's opportunities. I'll say this about the University of Richmond: it's better than a lot of jobs out there. Even at the quote higher level, it's better. At least for me, it was a better job than a lot of jobs out there. This one felt like it was an opportunity. To be honest with you, it was not disruptive. It was probably the least disruptive move my family could make. We loved living there. We loved everything. We loved the fan base there. That one will always be hard. Just feel like you're moving away from something that you had built there. But it didn't feel like we were going far. Like I said, I've jokingly said we're moving out the suburbs.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's a nice area. I mean, the times that I've been up there to cover games, it's always been always a really good experience. And like I said, I really am excited to be able to catch some games this year and see what you and the ladies are able to rock and roll there in the ACC. Very, very excited about that. Coach, let's get a little bit into your new roster here.
Sure.
Obviously, how was the transition for you to try to, maybe get these players to kind of adjust to your style? I know that probably still going on. And we knew how it was in Richmond. How everybody kind of embraced and were able to kind of just they took what you had, they learned, they went with it, they went rocking and rolling. How is that process going so far for you in Virginia?
Yeah, I think it's going well. I mean, obviously an adjustment for me, adjustment for them, right? I mean, when we got the job, everybody here was in the transfer portal, so we didn't really have a roster. We didn't have any games scheduled. It was really kind of starting anew. I even will tell people, I mean, it's interesting this day and age, you're talking about talking to agents. I mean, I think probably 2 hours ahead of me getting this job, I was on some Zooms with players recruiting at Richmond. I had an agent call me and said, hey, 2 hours ago, we were trying to navigate this process with one of our players getting to Richmond for a visit later this week. And now all of a sudden I see this. And that is truly how quickly it does happen. Mm-hmm. I think for us here, I was in Jamaica. I think I told you when I was in Jamaica, when all of this stuff happened, hustled back here and with Kimora, obviously she was in the portal and very popular. She was going down to visit Dawn, a UVA alum, alum down there in South Carolina, that she was going down to visit and really just tried to hustle back here and just try to get some time with her and her family ahead of that visit, and was able to do that, was able to meet with our players here that had eligibility and had willingness to come back. And really kind of learned that those guys really did enjoy each other. They did and like a lot of things about UVA or maybe in the portal to kind of protect themselves depending on what happened. So really the first mission was trying to get as many of those players back here as we could. And it did take a little bit. I think often as a staff, we've sat here and wondered and wished that, hey, maybe if this only would have happened a week earlier, or 2 weeks earlier, and could have better prepared ourselves. But I think we're happy with the roster that we have, both the kids that are back here now from last year. Olivia McGee was coming off an injury, so I think that was something that hopefully we can get the best version of her. Bree Hurd was, maybe, kind of stuck behind a few folks and had some great moments last year, but hopefully I think something in our offense will step up a little bit and maybe get a few more opportunities. Obviously, we talked about Kimora. I think this is something that she can excel and thrive in some visions that we have for her within this offense. And then we have some other kids that we're bringing in. I think small world, but to have Mariana Asari coming from VCU.
I saw that. I said, oh wow.
Kind of worlds colliding here and uniting, and we're such a huge fan of her and her game and trying to prepare going against her. I think that was a no-brainer for us. And, we had some things develop here that really helped us, have some ability to target her and some open roster spots here. So I think that was a great one. And, I really like the athleticism that we have. I like the guard spot that we have right now. We have some unproven people at the post spot, but I think that's something that, I think will be great. And so I say unproven because some of that, those kids are still overseas. We've got 3 players right now that have been playing with their national team. Mariana just got back after she was doing some 3x3 stuff down in Chile with her Canadian team. So we're really incomplete right now as far as our evaluation of them. But I think that's something that will happen in due time. And probably getting long-winded here, but I will tell you, very happy with the current players right now of what we've seen over the last 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like I said before, I'm very excited seeing you. Olivia come back. Kimora, all of them coming back was a very good sign. And I'll be honest with you, as it was happening, I remember myself saying, "Man, this is going to be a tough blow for Virginia." I mean, especially after this. So for you to be able to, and your staff, and Carla and whoever you guys did to be able to reel this back in, I was like. There was a part of me that was like, okay, they were able to figure it out, and so that's a really good deal. Before I get to this next question, a part of this, you and Carla, how's that relationship so far with you and Carla, kind of going so far? You and the AD?
Yeah, she's been fantastic. And I think this is something that, when the job opens, I mean, I didn't really think about it, and other people are like, oh, it's a natural fit. I'll be honest with you, I didn't know Carla. So I think so many times this works with relationships in this business. weirdly for me, and just 45 minutes, an hour away, there wasn't a lot of connectivity here with us in Virginia. We tried getting him on the schedule a little bit, and that didn't really go as much as we had liked. We had played over here once and won, and so I think I knew of Carla, and come to find out she knew of me. Had some connectivity with some folks on the men's staff that knew folks over here. Coach Odom, with him being in the A10 and being at VCU. So maybe we knew more about each other, but she's been great, and she just cares. She played, at the Power 4 level. She coached at the Power 4 level. And so women's basketball is a big deal to her. And so I think we've really been, fortunate enough to kind of find each other working here together. She was incredibly hands-on here at the beginning as I got going, and maybe there's a level of trust. Maybe it's summer that we're in contact, but it's she's not in my office every day, checking up, but I'm keeping her in the loop. She pops by to practice, and she's a welcome addition to practice, and we're just able to have those conversations about basketball, and she pays attention to it. She knows the recruiting scene. She asks us about our recruits, and when I tell her a name of somebody's coming, she's aware of that kid, and so I think that part's been great. And I think, like I said earlier, the relationship I had with not just with John, but with the administration at Richmond was always just so comfortable, all the way up to the president. It was going to take somebody that I truly believed in, and Carla's been everything that I wanted her to be here.
That's good, really good deal, Coach. Now, before we get into a segment that we're going to talk about here in a little bit, but what's your outlook on the season? I know it's summertime. I know we're in July, but your early thoughts when you look at the ACC. What is your early thought process when you look at this conference as a whole?
Yeah, obviously a really, really tough conference. I mean, we've watched Duke quite a bit and got to play against Duke a little bit, and they've only gotten better. With North Carolina, what Courtney's doing, and we had Grace Townsend and obviously Laney being from there. We were always kind of watching and keeping tabs on them. Been a fan of Jeff Walls and what Louisville's been able to do here, and then obviously Notre Dame. Those guys have kind of been at the top, but it's a much deeper conference than that. I mean, even look at Virginia Tech. What those guys have been able to do. Even since Kenny has left, and so I think it's a really, really tough conference. It's still a basketball centric conference, although football's really, kind of gotten some really good teams out here, and what Coach Elliott's done here has been tremendous. So it's going to be tough. But kind of like what I told you when we were at Richmond, it was a really good league, but you were always happy when you had Maggie Dugan and Rachel, and Sweeney here over the last few years. And then, Addie Budnick and that crew and kind of before that. And so I think it starts off that we have Kimora here, and we have some other really good players, but we have Kimora here as a proven player in this league, one of the best players coming back. She and I getting to know each other, and I think her getting comfortable with how we do things here, and her family being comfortable with how we go about things. And, obviously I get to see them too. I mean, it's, it's wild when, she's from here, and so all of a sudden going to pick up Open Gym, and I see, her mom at Open Gym because, my son and her brother are on the same team.
Oh, wow.
So it's just, it's an interesting dynamic and such an awesome dynamic. But I think just getting to know our players, I think, will help us as we navigate and try to get to those, get in the same tier as those teams that we mentioned in this league.
Yeah, I'm really intrigued to see, how the dynamic will play out. I think that I really do like what I've seen overall. Like I said, from you guys on the recruiting front so far, everything looks and feels really, really, really good. And Coach, I know this is a little bit out, but some of the ladies that you had a chance, from Richmond, how is that, have you kept up with them in any form or fashion? Have had conversations with, with Maggie or Rachel and so on and so on?
Yeah, Maggie's been over here, I think maybe a couple times now, but obviously staying in regular contact with her. With Rachel, obviously weirdly, when this airs, but she and I have been going back and forth texting with her future plans, and I'll kind of let her share all of that. Faith Alston, has been over here working out with us a couple times, working out, with the coaching staff. Her sister was in grad school over here, so every time I go to the bookstore, I usually run into her who's working over there. So yeah, it's been one of those that you try to stay in contact with them. I know Tierra just moved out of Richmond here this past weekend. You try to, and I could go through the list of all the people that we've talked with.
Right.
one of the really hard parts, and I don't know that I'll ever get over this, is just those current players back there of how quickly this happened. But to administration's credit, how quickly they named a
Yes,
successor to us
yes,
too. So I really, really tried to be cognizant of not feeling like I was messing with their worlds with the current staff coming in, and I think that's something, hanging out, I'm very thrilled with the coaching staff that they've hired, and, I've been in really regular communication with them, and still trying to find a golf night that we're going to make this work while we're back in Richmond to get together. But that part was really hard, feeling like you couldn't really have the proper goodbye with those current players. And that's just everything that goes against how I would have wanted this process to go.
right.
The fact that you're away, that you're doing this, on a Zoom with no notice is about probably one of the hardest, and probably it definitely was, no question, the worst part about this. So at some point here, when they're no longer, Richmond basketball players, look forward to continuing that relationship. But just out of respect to Richmond, obviously I want UVA women's basketball to be amazing this year. But I also want Richmond women's basketball to be amazing too. And so I think we've really tried to go out of our way to make sure that things were stable there, and really excited about what the outlook's going to look like for them, for the current players, but also some of those players that are coming in as well.
Yeah, I'm excited. Obviously, the last couple of years being able to call the games, I'm very intrigued to see how it will go down this year. I'm very excited to see how the players, grow. And of course, on both ends. It's a very exciting year for me. I'm very pumped up to be able to, to run around a little bit.
Both. You're going to be a fan of both.
I am going to be a fan of both. Look, the Spiders are near and dear to my heart.
Watching and listening to broadcast down there, and they're going to be great, and excited to watch them. Excited to watch. I feel like I'm a fan of all of theirs Richmond programs. I know Coach Mooney. I've talked with him. Just weirdly seen him a lot. Our kids seemingly are in all these same basketball tournaments together, so I've seen him and talked about his roster, and I know they're really excited for what they have coming up. And Coach Shamati, obviously what they've been able to do, and both lacrosse programs. So we'll still be a fan of everything Richmond Spiders, and looking forward to it.
Yeah, can't wait to see how both teams do this year. They're near and dear to the Legacy Maker Sports Network team's hearts on both ends, so we cannot wait to see how that goes. Now it's time for our favorite segment. Now, Coach, we talked about this before the show. This segment started with you. You were the very first person,
the original,
way back, the OG, back in episode 2. Started the quick.
Hey, come on now, way back. We're a little bit older. I'd like to think we're both a lot more fun.
I mean,
right? We're more experienced. Our relationship has grown. I tell that to people all the time, man. I'm older, but I'm having more fun and at the greatest time of my life right now. So things are good.
Yeah, I got called an unk the other day, and I was just like, I guess. I'm 40 something now. I'm like, it makes sense. I've got 2 adult children that are going to college. That's going to break your boy. But besides that, I got, I'm like, I guess I am an unk now. And they be like, what up, unk? And I'm like, yeah.
my own 3 kids remind me of my age, and that I'm older than my age all the time. But hey, you know what? It's just a number for us. So as long as we keep believing that, we'll be good, my friend.
We'll be just fine. We'll be just fine. With that being said, Coach Roussell, are you ready for edition number 2 of Quick Ones with you, sir? Are you ready?
Let's do it.
All right, let's get it started. All right, Coach. All right, here we go. First one on Quick Ones. Give me your favorite sports moment.
Favorite sports moment. All right. Obviously being out at UCLA a couple years ago, getting that win, sharing that with our fans that were out there, our administration, my family. From a coaching and basketball moment, that one's going to be tough to top. I don't know if we talked about last time though, man. Coaching Little League with my kid, that probably still is the single greatest thrill that I've enjoyed from a personal standpoint. Awesome, that counted as 2s. Sorry, that was supposed to be.
No, it's okay, Coach. And like I said, just for those, just like I told Coach in the first episode, Coach was like, "Hey, do I say one word? No, man, I want it to flow." So you explained it. It's called Quick Ones, but it's not even really. It's a lie. It's a lie per se. No, but I really appreciate it, Coach. All right, next one. Your worst sports moment.
Yeah, anytime a season ends, it's really rough. I think obviously, it didn't end, but 2 years ago with the St. Joe's loss, that was a tough one, trying to face your team, This past year was tough trying to say goodbye to those. Anytime a season ends, it's really, really tough. Whether it's NCAA tournament or, year number one, any time the year ends, that's always tough.
Yeah, I know it has to be. I mean, it's you got having to, I guess you guys kind of face the music there. You got to figure out what to say to these people after all the emotions that are running high, depending on the scenario.
Yeah.
And that St. Joe's game was not that was not for the faint of heart.
Yeah.
There's
well,
a couple
the way it happened, right? Obviously, Maggie hits a great shot, and come back, and then the officials, again, now they're, they think we all thought we won because of some other stuff. So that one is hard, but it also, things happen for a reason. Obviously, UVA men have a national championship because of what happened the year before and how that ended. I think we have a tournament win at with Richmond women's basketball, probably because of the disappointment of how that one ended too.
Yeah, I mean, it was so funny watching. Like, I remember watching the game. I'm not gonna bring too much up because I'm not trying to rehash too many old memories. But I remember sitting there saying, like, the one referee says it's no good. The other referee saying it's good, and we're on the broadcast. We're screaming like, did they win the game or did they lose the game? Now,
took us a while.
The first referee was adamant that it did not go, and I'm like, I think they didn't. Then it was a whole bunch of mess. But
it was a mess.
Definitely a great game. Definitely good. And I don't know if Miss Ziegler is still at Louisville or not, but I mean, I guess that would be something that would be
a great moment for her. And in all seriousness, it happened the way it was supposed to happen and ended the way it was supposed to end. And, for as much as it hurt for some of those kids to not get an A-10 championship, and that last year as well, I think there was a pretty cool experience that happened after that.
Yeah, I mean, being able to win an NCAA tournament, being the first is always something that no one can take away from you. Yeah,
That's
exactly.
Right.
Favorite athlete of all time? Who's your favorite?
Favorite athlete of all time? Man, I grew up, and it's funny because, my wife and I, after we connected, both realized that we had both dressed as Ryan Sandberg from the Chicago Cubs for Halloween multiple times. So I think growing up, he was a little bit of my hero. I feel like I'm supposed to say Jordan because I think I'm still having the Jordan LeBron debate daily in my house with my 15-year-old son. Probably starting to I don't know if I'm losing that argument, but obviously, what LeBron has done is incredible. But I'm gonna stick with Ryan Sandberg. I mean, that was my favorite.
Ryan Sandberg is a really good answer. I remember as a kid watching WGN. I mean, around here, like we got to see all the Chicago stuff because WGN was like on our main cable station. We saw it all. So anything Chicago Bulls, anything White Sox, anything Cubs. Like I don't think the Bears were on there, but everybody else was on there, and we saw it all the time. So I
will say though, this is an easy one. Randy Moss, when growing, we can have the Packers and Vikings talk here, but I was older, so that was probably when I was already in college. But man, that guy was special, and just there was being a receiver for me. I mean that guy was unlike probably any entrance as a rookie that I've ever seen. I was at game one of his rookie year. That's something I'll never forget.
It's insane. Like last week we had Nate Burleson on.
I saw that.
And he's rocking the Randy Moss jersey. Now, before the show started, he had on a completely different shirt. He was like, oh, no, hold on. I got to go get in sports mode. So he leaves out of the scene. And I'm sitting there waiting in the backstage. Yeah. He comes back in, Vikings hat, Randy Moss shirt. I said, look at this. And then, in the shoe closet, and I said, Nate, I respect you, man. This is not – this is not cool. And he started laughing. But it was a really nice. He said they actually custom made the shirts, like his brand is the brand,
great.
The shirt. So I was like, it's pretty cool.
I will tell you, the Vikings flag that you gave me is making the move with us to Charlottesville. So
there you go.
Proudly displayed, and it'll be here.
There you go. Next one, Coach. We got two fun ones for you. The first fun one. Give me your top 3 breakfast foods and one that you just said, no, I'm good on. I hate it. But what are your top 3 breakfast foods?
Top 3 breakfast foods. All right. I don't know if they really are as amazing as what they say they are, but my kids love Daddy pancakes. So Daddy pancakes, when we can get a weekend without Dad having to leave early, it's almost always Daddy pancakes. So there's some different quirks and different things that Dad does with them, make them a little fluffier. So
right.
Come on over sometime, and I'll let you into the special secrets.
I'm in.
I take my wife makes, and I know this is weird, my wife makes the best, softest, fluffiest scrambled eggs you could
Really?
ever ask for. So she's fantastic with those when I get treated. Weirdly, and I think a lot of people do know this, I think this is like my favorite food of all time. But if I can get some yogurt with granola, drizzle some honey on there with some fresh fruit, that is like my favorite meal. Whether it's breakfast, whether it's whenever else. But if I can get that combination, grapes in there, I know that's at
Hmm.
work. Shout out Jada Green from Richmond. We were both big fans of that. But yeah, those are three go-tos. That's pretty good that I even remembered all of those.
So solid go-tos. Is there anything that you just stay away from?
Stay away from at breakfast. I stopped eating breakfast meats for whatever reason. I'm
Hmm.
not a meat guy in the morning, bacon, sausage, any of that. Too many other good things, and I'm not filling myself with that on a normal basis.
I can see that. I'm not even upset with that. I'm not even upset with that. Now, last week, I asked Nate about the concept. I thought about actually about the concept, but I said, I'm gonna go a different way with you, Coach. You are putting on a comedy show, Coach. You get to pick 4 comedians to be on your show. This is your show. You are producing this show. 4 comedians, and who's your opener, who's your headliner, who's in between. You got 4 choices.
All right. I will say this. Don't judge me on this
I
because
won't.
they're not always the cleanest. Growing in college, high school, Chris Rock was like Chris Rock.
Okay.
Chris
Okay.
Rock was outstanding. A little bit younger, some of the Eddie Murphy stuff, like those are like 2 that you just have to. I was watching the World Cup, or at least had it on the background, and then Jerry Seinfeld popped on afterwards, and you're like, you kind of forget some of that. And let's. I've seen him a couple times in person and appreciate the cleanliness of it. I know Bargatze is that, but I feel like Gaffigan was kind of like the clean. So I'll go Jim Gaffigan with it and mix things up there too.
All right, so we got Gaffigan, we got Eddie, we've got Chris Rock, and then you're going with Seinfeld.
I'm going with Seinfeld, but I do enjoy Chappelle, man.
Chappelle's my guy. Chappelle's my guy.
That's like it might be like the Godfather there, and then those other 4 underneath. If I'm being fair,
Yeah.
Yeah, no, there's some quality out there. There's some quality out there for sure.
I don't want to say my list is weird, but I might get in trouble for part of my list. But I will say, like, it's strictly the comedy. So I have number 1. I would have Sinbad. Sinbad has always been clean comic. I always feel like my personality was built through Sinbad. Like I feel like I watched him as a kid. Love this comedy. My style of how I react to people or try to make people laugh. I would say that probably goes that route. Number 2, Dave Chappelle had to, got to throw Dave in there. It's too easy. He's the one I got to see in person. I've seen Sinbad in person. Actually, I got to be a part of the show. It was cool, but I got to see the Chappelle. Number 3, and God rest his soul, was Patrice O'Neal. Not probably the cleanest. But Patrice O'Neal is hilarious.
There were a couple roasts that he was pretty good. There were a couple roasts that he was pretty good.
And last but not least, I'll probably get in trouble for this one, but Bill Cosby. Now, there's a little bit behind that. You take everything else out, and you just look at the comedian. Me and my dad watched Bill Cosby growing up, and that was maybe one of the 2 things that we ever really bonded with. So it was just like, yeah, man, comedically on the stage. I was nothing outside of that, but just there, Bill Cosby was the man. So I would give him that. That's it, y'all. That's not just in the comedy.
That's fair. That's fair. That's fair. I'll tell you what, man. That says you were saying all these, and obviously not all of them are able anymore. But I will miss that Altria Theater. I feel like my wife and I were always looking for the next comedy acts that were coming out there, and trying to see some of those in person. So yeah, no, that's a good list. There's nobody that can. I can't fault you for that list. I can't fault you at all.
Yeah, well, look, now you get comedy shows that, if they have the big time shows, maybe you get one at JPJ. I mean, that's, something that I'm pretty sure they got a comedy club out there in Charlotte.
Come on over. I think the first week I was here, there was one out there that I kind of got to. Sometimes you don't even want to hear it, and you get to hear it from the office.
Oh man. All right, well, Coach, look, we are pretty much here at the end. First of all, that was the Aaron Roussell edition. Number 2, 2.0 edition of Quick Ones. Coach, before we leave out of here, I just want to get from you, like, what's your perspective, now, at UVA, what do you want out of this experience, as
Sure.
as a coach, as family man, whatever. What do
Yeah.
you want your experience in Charlottesville to be like, in just in your mind?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think I've been really happy at all the spots I've been. I think they've all been spots where I feel like I can be true to myself as far as, making sure that it's all about being a student athlete. I know that's probably tougher these days and landscape's different, but I think, I've always said I want to be at a school that I would be proud that my kids would be at. I want to be at a school that includes my family. I think that's, was apparent at all the spots that I was at. And I think doing the same thing here, I think just being a part of the lives of young athletes, right? Like even you talked about earlier, some of the congratulations emails. I mean, some of the, trying to prepare for a couple weddings of former Bucknell kids, that we were trying to get to. So I think being a part of that and forming, I was so fortunate in my life to have coaches that helped form what I am now. And I think that's something that I do take a lot of pride in, take a lot of enjoyment in. But then my own family too. I think it's a weird profession that you get caught up watching a lot of other people's kids and sometimes missing your own kids' things for other people's kids' activities. But I think when my family can grow up in this environment, my family can be a part of this experience. I think that part's been cool. And then ultimately you want to achieve something at the highest of levels, right? I think that's something that, I feel like I can go back and pick some highlights at each of these spots and say, man, that was like maybe some of the best experience. Maybe that was the best moment in that program's history. That's gonna be a challenge here. I think Don Staley's,
Yeah.
to be able to claim at some of those things here, but just to be able to create some memories, with fans. I said this earlier. I will miss those fans, miss the fan base that we built at Richmond dearly. Hopefully, we see some of those that make the trip over here on occasion. But I think that just being a part of something, I didn't get to play at this level, but just being able to experience that with the fan base, with the university, I think would be a cool experience here.
Yeah, very excited. Some legends there at UVA, including Tammy Reese, who's now in Florida.
Yes,
Another A10. Amazing head coach. So shout out to Tammy Reese down there. Do your thing in Florida.
absolutely.
Very, very excited for her down there. But it's just so cool to see. From me perspective, to see some of these A10 coaches getting that shot at the next level. Some of those mid-level, mid-major coaches that we've seen really just grow. And so,
Yeah.
including you, coach, it's just been really nice to see it. And it's something a part of, like, being a part of this for the last 7-8 years, going on 9. It's just so, it's like
Yeah.
you almost feel like it's family. So like I was just as giddy as like when I found, so, oh man, this is great. And then when I found out about you getting the job, I was you'd have thought that like we were brothers, you know what I'm saying? I
Yeah.
said that, whatever, but it was such a great feeling to see that happen. And I really do just hope for the best for you, coach, you and the family, and you guys kill it out there at UVA. We're very, very excited for you.
Well, thank you, man. I know you'll be up here, and like I said earlier, I think that's one of the probably more comforting things about leaving there is, you're not really saying goodbye to anybody, right? There's still, all the relationships are still here, and even physically now too. Like this isn't just something that you gotta, say a long goodbye and hopefully you see somebody in, over 5 years. This is, borderline the same neighborhood, and that's something I'll treasure our friendship and look forward to our friendship continuing to grow. And you got a seat at our scorers table, man. Come on over.
I'm gonna head up there, coach, to check you guys out and the ladies out, of course. Can't wait. Well, ladies and gentlemen, before we get out of here, I got to tell you about next week's episode. And next week, I got a man on here that coach knows very, very well. That's Mr. Blaine
Hey,
McCormick.
it's my guy.
Blaine will be coming on. One of my broadcast partners for University of Richmond. He is the communication and broadcast manager for the Richmond Flying Squirrels. The Squirrels are having a really good season, and I'm hoping for the best for him. But we're going to have Blaine on next week to come talk Squirrels, talk about his career, and so on and so on. Coach, once again, man, appreciate you. Good luck this season. Can't wait to see you in the fall. Go out there and make the dream work, brother. We're very, very, very proud of you.
I appreciate that. I appreciate this opportunity, and keep killing it, man. Very proud of you as well.
All right, everybody. That is it. Episode 206 of 101 is in the books. We will see you all next week. Blaine McCormick will be joining us then. Coach, for Coach Roussell, I'm Darrell Owens. Until next time, peace.
One. one, 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 one. Welcome to the one-on-one, one-on-one. When it comes to ratings, man, we number one. I get the truth, then I give them the scoop. If anybody got a question, I give them the proof. Welcome to the one-on-one.